Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Latched Mama Podcast. Melissa and Lindi here. For those of you who have never listened to us before, we are just two moms in the trenches of motherhood, cutting it up, talking about some topics. And we are so happy you have found us. Today, we are talking about something, I don't even know how do you even say it? Today, we're talking about how to know if you're done having kids, which is a question we get all the time. Lindy's was decided for her. I have very much decided that I'm done having kids. So take today with a grain of salt. It is a Monday. It is my oldest's birthday. My parents are in town. Just take anything that I say today with a little bit of grace. Thanks. You're listening to Latched Mama Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Wirt, busy mom of 6 and owner of LatchedMama.com. Join us each week as we talk about pregnancy, breastfeeding, postpartum, and all things motherhood. Literally, people ask this all the time in the group. I want more kids. My partner doesn't. How do you know if you should have another kid? How should you know if you don't want another kid? What should you do?
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. So we basically threw this question into our Latched Mama Love Facebook group. If you all are not in it, go join it. It's a fantastic supportive place on the internet for mothers to gather. And so we're going to just start off with one of the questions that somebody called in with. And then we'll just go from there and see where the conversation goes.
Hi, my name's Amanda, and my question on the topic of whether or not you're done, I guess it's more of a discussion thing, but people who think that it's their business to ask you that question themselves. So they say, are you done? Is this your last? And sometimes they ask that even when you're still pregnant or when you literally have a newborn. And your, postpartum brain can't even think about that. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't, but either way, it's none of their business. So just curious if you guys have gotten that question very often and how you handle it.
Oh, yes. I remember when I had 2 boys and then I had a girl. Yeah. And I remember my midwife saying, just be prepared. Everybody is going to expect you to be done now because you had your girl. It's so interesting. Yeah, people ask that all the time. I mean, I don't believe my dad, although he came from 7 himself, there were 7 in his family. I think he cringed. I think my mom cringed every time I told her we were going to have another kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wonder why people think that's is that like the only thing they can come up with in that moment? Not like, oh, how old is Johnny? Or, oh, what do you guys like to do? That's the one question that people can come up with, as if, your intimate life and your kid size, family size is anybody else's business.
Nobody else's business. But people feel
business.
Like they have an opinion on it all the time. It's like the person who sees you in the grocery store and they're like, oh, your hands are full. And I always want to quit back, but with that really snarky. Yeah. But so is my heart. Just one of those what you would see on a t-shirt, because it's what do you say back to that? Yes, my hands are full.
I've had are they all yours? And I'm like, no, I just stole a couple neighbors. I have said some rude things, but I don't know.
So, it's like anything else in parenthood. There are 2 sides to everything. There are 2 sides to small families and big families. And do you and do what is right for your family. And, just, I don't know.
Your choice.
Yeah.
If you want to make a smart comment back, do it. I don't know. If you need to set a boundary line and it keeps on happening, do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just say, hey, that's really none of your business. Because it really isn't. But I had the same thing. I had 2 boys. Are you going to try for a girl? Oh, then I had a girl. Oh, are you done? Yeah. Oh, well, then I had another girl. Oh, you're even. Now you're totally done. And none of this is your business.
Yeah. None of it's your business.
None of it.
But it's crazy though. I could probably say looking back from a family perspective, nobody really socially ever commented on how big our family was going to be. Probably because I'm normally around here and it's babies are everywhere. But I can say probably looking back, growing up and becoming an adult, probably some of the most hurtful moments and just the ones that give you the big feels are the whole are you crazy? You're having another kid? Or good God, Melissa, what are you doing? Or, that,
really?
The moment where, really? Those moments where it changes, and it's not, and those kids aren't quite those pregnancies and those kids aren't quite as celebrated as you get more and more kids.
Yeah.
Maybe I just became more of like a recluse at home because I had so many kids, so there wasn't really anything to celebrate. I don't know. You know, it is what it is. There are some days that I think I made life a lot harder for myself by having 6. But then I look at them and like, I don't know who I'd give back. I mean, they are all such amazing, amazing blessings and love, and they all fill my life and my heart in a different way.
Yeah.
But it ain't easy.
But we feel you. I think every mom probably gets a question, something along the lines.
Totally. Why are you doing that?
Yeah. You know how that happens?
Why do you have the car seat inside the grocery cart? Why doesn't your kid have socks on? Where's your kid's jacket?
Why is it your business?
It's nobody's business. Set a boundary.
Yep.
You do you. Have as many as you want or don't.
Yeah.
Hi, Melissa. My name is Michaela.
Hi, Michaela.
I had an interesting question on the topic of when to know you and your partner are done having kids. I have many family members who believe that it's more up to the mother to decide when the family is done having kids, and I thought it was an interesting topic to see whether other people felt that one partner had more of a decision in the factor of having more kids or not. Thanks. Love your podcast. Bye.
So Eric wants all the babies. I'm pretty clear about this. Like, Eric would keep going right now. I'm not saying Eric's the reason why we had 6. But if he had been like super confident about stopping at like 4, it's so hard because these little lives are in the world now. So you can't really talk about them like, you know, you would have stopped. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like we came together on just about all of them. If he wanted a 7th, we would not have a 7th. I am done. Lindi laughs because Lindi does not think I'm done. But I'm done. And we talked about it the other day, and he was like, you always say that. And then a year goes by and they're sleeping through the night and you start ovulating again and you're like, let's have another. No, I'm done. And we can talk about why I know I'm done in a few minutes. I want to get through these questions first because I think it's a really interesting kind of revelation because it is a completely different feeling than it was after 4 or 5 in my body and in my brain and stuff. Were you and Matt on the same page?
Well, speaking to her question, because I know there's another question about partners.
Okay.
To her question, I can give you my opinion.
Yeah.
Because that's all I can speak to is it. I think it takes 2 to make a baby, and both partners are responsible for the care and well-being of that kid. So I personally don't think it's one person over the other.
100% agree.
Ever. I know that, you know, one person is going to birth and carry that baby, and that's a lot of work put into it, and I totally get that. But I think at the end of the day, I think you both need to be in agreement on these things. Otherwise, I think it's just going to lead to some other issues.
But if you have one person that's holding out, does that one person just automatically win? That's just what I don't understand. Like, we have these conversations all the time. We have the conversations here. We have in the Facebook group. Like,
I don't think there's an exact answer, and I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next.
But to her question, I think, I don't know. I think both parties should have an equal say in it. It's their body. It's their responsibility.
But you get a stalemate. If you have one that wants one and one that doesn't want another one, what do you do?
Right. But I think that's another question. I feel like she had a belief that
the woman
it was
should
the
decide.
woman's decision.
Yeah, no. I mean, in our relationship, I give Eric equal say in that because I don't want to be sitting on a porch swing at like 80 years old and him be like, my only regret in life is that we didn't have another kid or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
And I've also, you hear this little like saying all the time is like, you never regret having another one. You always regret not having another one, you know, because once they're here, but that's also a really, really hard kind of thing to get behind. So
I don't know.
Okay.
Hi, Melissa and Lindi. So this topic is very relevant to me, especially because we have embryos right now frozen in storage, costing us $100 per month while we're trying to decide if we'll have another baby. So for background, my pregnancy was via IVF and high risk. with our baby being born about a month early via C-section after a failed induction. And despite all of the medical risks and despite the stress and despite the financial costs and despite the postpartum depression and anxiety, I think I still want another baby. My spouse, however, is about 95% certain that they don't want another baby. And I totally understand their fears and concerns. And if I was being logical, I'd also say we shouldn't have another baby. But I honestly get so sad thinking that I'll never have another baby. My heart just isn't on board with being done. So my questions are, number one, how do you and your partner get on the same page about having or not having another baby? It doesn't seem like it's a situation where you can really compromise. And then number two is, how do you cope with not being done having kids, but maybe you have to be done anyhow?
Wow. That's what I was just saying. Like, what happens when one wants one and one doesn't? I mean, this is what we were talking about before we started this. We're like, we're going to piss some people off today, and we probably will. This is my first reaction is, if you are mentally and financially okay, and there's not some like ginormous reason why, and there is somebody who is you're in a relationship, and that other person says, my heart, my soul, every part of my being wants this other child. Part of me says you got to get on board. That's like one of those non-negotiables in life, in the sense of like it's what we're put on this planet to do in some ways. I'm not going to say if you don't have kids, it's not a big deal, but like, why? I don't know. I have a hard time denying a significant other that desire to have another baby. But
yeah. Unless maybe that conversation was had up front before commitments, before marriage, that's probably a different story, and that you didn't hear it communicated.
And you're allowed to grow and change within the relationship too, and you're allowed to revisit the conversation, but maybe compromising isn't quite the same thing. I don't know. I really struggle, because I really truly feel like at the core of like human existence is something. I mean. And then do you get spiteful, and then how do you heal from that? I don't know. As you can see, Eric and I just decided to have all the babies and decided not to actually have the conversation. I mean, you had a lot too.
I was trying to think when I was listening through to all the messages last night, and sitting thinking, putting myself back in like when I had 3 under 3 or whatever, like drowning most days. And then it's like, I want another baby. And I'm sitting here now looking back going, and why? Like what were those reasons? And I was wondering why I tied myself so much to having a physical like infant to hold, because right in front of me were 3 incredibly cool human beings at different ages doing different really cool things that I could actively as a mom enjoy and be present with. So I do look back at myself and get like why? Like when I was like, I want another baby. Well, like it's not that I was lacking in babies
or things to do.
And so I wonder where my mind was at. I know it wasn't a very healthy place. So often wonder and look back if I had made those decisions to have kids with a healthy mindset in a healthy body, which I can't because it's hindsight, and I've really worked on myself to become a healthy human being. Would that look different? But then again, like I love all of my 6 kids, and they're all so unique and they're so cool. But I do wonder sometimes, and I speak to myself because I did it, is why we tie ourselves to, I 100%. Want another baby.
Yep.
Well, when there were babies right in front of me that I could love and spend time with. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
And I also know when these other things coming up is making these decisions, I kind of heard the phrase like, hey, just don't make it within that first year. If you're in the trenches of kind of like postpartum and you're 3-4 months and you're like, I am done. Like just be present in the moment. Be with that baby and down the line. Don't make these hasty decisions, whether it's I'm done or whether I want another one. I really do wish I had that little bit more of that patience. Although it's hindsight, and I wouldn't change anything. So I'm speaking to like, back and forth. But I do sit there and think, why we as women do, and myself, tie so much to, because that was my worth back. I feel like that's what I did.
I really enjoy.
I don't know if any of that makes sense, but
I completely agree with you. I really, really enjoy watching siblings grow. And I think at some point you kind of push the bucket over, and it's kind of like, what's 4, what's 5, what's 6. And watching them grow together. Like for us, we had 2 boys. I definitely wanted a daughter, so we tried for number 3. She was a girl. Then we had number 4, I think, because we wanted it to be even. And we wanted Caroline to have a sister if we could. But Caroline, that wasn't a girl, that was a boy. So then we still wanted Caroline to have a sister. So we had 5, but then it wasn't even anymore. So then we had 6. So, I mean, it was just kind of at the point where, like, we kept going because a lot of things were changing in our lives. We had the means to keep going. I introduced help into my life, which was, if I hadn't done that, there's no way that we would be moving forward with more kids. I don't know. It's so hard. It's so hard.
Yeah. And I looked at her question. I truly can't even speak to having embryos. I just can't.
$100 a month per embryo?
I had no idea how.
Seems like we're taking advantage of people.
Yeah.
No? I don't know. That seems like a lot. I had never, in my very privileged lifestyle, I had never even thought about how much it costs to hold on to those embryos until you're figuring out what you want to do.
And I can't even put myself in your shoes because I haven't been through that. But also, that is expensive. And I think I'm trying to put myself in there. If we were struggling financially, I think you do have to look at everything maybe.
Yeah. But how's
I don't even know.
How's this first pregnancy versus second pregnancy, or first postpartum versus second postpartum? Because that's something, like, she's going to go into it with a whole lot more tools in her tool belt, probably going into that second pregnancy.
Right.
Maybe partner knows how to support her a little bit better. Maybe if she did struggle with postpartum depression, if you can get a therapist during your pregnancy, I think that could help a lot and have a relationship there. If she was on meds before, knowing what meds would work on the second time. You know, for me, I've said this before, I only really truly felt like I had hit my stride in motherhood until after I had the second one. For some, 1 to 2 is super hard. For me, 1 to 2 was easier in a lot of ways than just 1 was. I kind of felt like a mom. I felt like I was building something. I don't know what it was, but I mean, I would be afraid of comparing what your second experience is going to be like to your first, because you have to give yourself credit for learning and growing in that time you've already had a pregnancy and a child, and not be incredibly scared about it the next go around. Just because you had a C-section once, I don't know why you had a C-section, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a second C-section. You know, maybe this time you could explore having a gentle cesarean, or finding a care provider who would be open to a VBAC, or, I mean, there's so many different things that she's probably learned through the process. That doesn't mean the experience is going to be the same. Also, if the partner has any PTSD from the emergency C-section or the postpartum period, getting into therapy together, I think could help a lot. Really, really dialing down to what those fears are that he has, and really, really digging in. I guess my biggest piece of advice is, don't just say, oh, we can't compromise, I'm going to just go, mother my one child. If it's truly, truly something that you want in your heart, really dig into those reasons why. Because I think you'd probably see a lot of growth in the sense that it's not going to feel the same way the second go around.
Yeah, I agree.
So, the next question, Kennedy.
My question is, if you're undecided about having more children, how do you decide what to save? For my last 2 babies, I knew we wanted more kids, and I'm almost done with my 3rd pregnancy, and we have so much baby stuff, and I feel like it would be easier to get rid of it as we're done using it rather than put it all back in storage and have to go through it all again some other time. But I'm having a hard time letting go of any of it just in case we need it again. So how do you decide when you're ready to give away all of the baby stuff? Or do you give it away even if you might have more children and just replace it?
What did you do? I mean, knew you were done.
When I knew I was done, like at the end or in between kids.
Between kids?
I saved some. I guess I had kids pretty back to back. So I feel like by the time we were still using all the things and I'd be pregnant. So, even at the beginning, I got I didn't know what I was having the first go around. So we just went with generic kind of, not like your yellow or green, but I got a gray type stroller or whatever. Cause I knew I was going to have more than one. So I was at least for the bigger items that will keep longer, we kept kind of neutral. But then as the time went on, I didn't store everything. And I will say, I don't know if you're saying putting things in storage as in pay to keep them in storage or just store them in your home. Cause I can tell you I would not pay to be putting things that I think I wouldn't pay that money to do that. I think you could almost just sell it and then get something later when you need something. I would save a few things and put it aside, but some of the clothes I would get rid of. When I was really done with something, I would get rid of. But I think when I was done, I did hang on to a couple of the strollers, the carriers that I had. I did hold on to the pack and play. I was like, well, if, my mom held on to the pack and play, sometimes she would have people over and then they would use it. We don't have people over. So I got rid of that really fast. I don't know. There's so many new things come out all the time as well. So you might just be easier to kind of gently sell it or gift it if you can. And declutter. I found over the years with kids, the more clutter, the more stressed I was. So getting some of those things out really helped me just mentally day to day.
So my latest thing has been I've been passing my clothes down to people who I know I will see them in again. They'll put them in their babies and I'll see their babies in them. And that's been extremely rewarding. I know that sounds crazy, but instead of bringing them to a consignment shop or just donating them to Goodwill or doing whatever, there are people in my life who I give them to them for their children. And then I see them on Instagram or I see them, they show up at the house in them or something like that. That has been really sweet and rewarding. And I don't know why.
Aww.
I don't know. It was just, for me, it was a little bit not as emotional as giving them away. I'm done. I'm never having another girl.
Yeah.
Where's all this stuff going to go? But other than that, I have also learned that as the kids have increased, my clutter needs to decrease.
Yeah.
So if we are done with the baby contraption, the baby contraption's gone. Gone. Because if it doesn't leave, the older kids start playing with it. They sit in it. They break it. The dog gets in it. It's a mess.
Yeah.
So I have become less emotionally attached to my kids' things. But I'm also not one that ever really gets sad at birthdays. I'm one that is always ready for the next age. We'll see what the teenage years bring. But I love independence, and it's probably because we have a lot of kids, but I like getting older. So if you're going to grow out of that bumbo and you're now going to sit at a high chair and you're going to eat food, that to me is a motherhood milestone because it's less on my plate. Yeah. But that's probably just a fraction of just a function of how overwhelmed kind of I am with all of the things. So
I only have one thing left. Wow. I have the rocker that I nursed all of them in at random times and sat there and cried and watched them sleep. And so I have not.
You'll keep that forever. Will you give it to one of them?
But see, that's the thing too. I don't want to give it to them and they feel like they have to put this in their room and expect to use it. So.
Oh, stop. You give it to one of them.
Seriously. So no, I still have it, and I don't know. I don't really see getting rid of it anytime soon.
That's really
but
cute.
That's the
Where
only
is
thing.
It?
It's shoved in the guest room with 600 stuffed animals all over. I mean, it's nowhere cherished. It's just in there.
That's really cute.
But so it's just one thing. But yeah, all the rest of the stuff is
so Nathan was born 10 years ago today in the back of Eric's 4Runner. We will keep that 4Runner forever. Ever and ever. And even if we don't keep the 4Runner forever, the back seat of the 4Runner, I'm sure will be made into some form of furniture. As my husband's the most sentimental person in the world.
Keep the fabric or something.
We'll do something. I don't know. But
that is pretty cool.
I agree with the sentimentalness, but the baby gear kind of goes right back out the door for me.
Yeah.
So
it's inevitable. And it's kind of like, I do the same with like my closet. Inevitably, like next year, there will be a few new things that you pick up, and that's what you always want to wear. So like same with the kids, like they would get new clothes from grandma or new onesies, and they were new, and like that's what I would always put them in. So I'm like, why do I save all this stuff? I did save like 2 or 3 clothing pieces from each kid. I have one bin.
But I'm also not like, I couldn't remember. I mean, none of them were born in a hospital, but I can't remember like what they like their favorite sleeper that I put them in, and always felt like great with them. I don't know.
Yeah, I just picked something to keep. Anyways, yeah.
Yes.
My vote is to declutter.
Declutter is the answer.
Declutter.
Do you have any other questions?
Stress.
Okay. So do you want to talk about how you knew you were done? Let's give them a little bit of personal stuff.
I do think it's interesting because after we had 4, he had an appointment, like legit vasectomy consult appointment for like whatever. It was like the Wednesday after. And it was one evening, and I was like, I don't really know what I'm feeling, but it doesn't feel right. I'm not really sure. I'm not saying like I definitely want more kids, but like I don't know.
How old was
Nellie?
Penelope? Yeah.
I don't know, a year probably.
Okay.
Maybe because I don't know. She was so chatty, very, very early talker, super sweet baby. So I don't know, but I also really struggle with postpartum with that too. Anyways, but I remember telling him, we were sitting at the stools at the counter, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm feeling, but it doesn't feel right. And he was just like, okay.
Well, I'm sure he was like, I don't want to get my penis snipped either. So give me whatever excuse you can. I won't go.
But it was nice. I do remember it was open. It wasn't like, no, or, but then that's what I had told him. And then, before long I was pregnant, and then it was the twins. And I remember when I did get pregnant with them, I mean, right off the bat, it was like 100%. I know the decision was made for me in the end, but even knowing that I was pregnant, number 1 with 5, I'm like, this is it. Like, I really do feel done. And then it was twins, and I was like, no, like that's 6, 2, 2, 2, like completely done.
Yeah.
And in the end, the decision was made for me, and ended up having a hysterectomy like 10 days postpartum with the twins. So totally done. But I remember waking up from that, and I was like writing on this whiteboard, like half out, with like this breathing tube down my throat with like my left hand. He still has the pictures of like the boards. And it was like true mom fashion. I literally wrote like, don't worry about me. Take care of the kids.
Oh, my heart.
It said like, tell mom about the milk in the freezer or something like that. Like really, really sweet. But I remember laying there going like, yeah. I am done, and I didn't have to make that decision because I don't even know how you make that decision.
Did they tell you? Did you wake up and they said, sorry, we had to take it all because you went?
So I went in the night before. Yeah. Rode the ambulance. It was like 12:30 at night. And I knew, had 6 kids at home. I'm like, obviously they're going to need to go and clean something up, basic D&C. But I'm like, worst case, So yeah, they started at 6 a.m. and I had no idea until I woke up. It was like 3 p.m. in the ICU. And I remember when I woke up, I woke up on the ventilator with the tube down my throat. So I couldn't talk. I wanted to cough so bad because there was stuff in my throat bothering me, and I wasn't supposed to wake up. So they pulled it out. And I was like, what? Like, you can tell, like, my body felt like I'd gone through I don't even know, just been hit. So could tell this was not normal. It's not normal D&C and kind of in and out and whatnot. And he's like, yeah, they had to take more. And I didn't really find out the extent of it till later. So
did you emotionally grieve the idea that you were
not
done?
At all. Not at all. Because I look back and I think during that pregnancy, that was it. Mm-hmm. You know, I knew in my mind that was it. So no, I no hard feelings, losing parts, none of it. Yeah. Didn't care. So, but that was just my experience.
It's nice that the decision was made kind of for you.
It was
scary for everyone.
But I 100% I would have been done after those twins. Yeah. That was hard.
So sitting at a barbecue this weekend, or I don't know, Nathan's birthday party or whatever, and I was sitting next to one of my old neighbors who love dearly. She's great. She's pregnant with number 5. And we were just kind of talking about how I felt very, very, very done for a whole lot of reasons. I mean, mostly that I have 6 children under the age of 10. Well, I guess 10 and under now. But I said to her, I said, do you think you'll ever be done? Like, do you, like, how are you feeling? And it was probably a question I shouldn't ask according to this podcast, but we were talking about how we were going to podcast on it. We're talking about how I was pretty sure I wasn't going to have any more kids. And it was such an interesting conversation because for me, I don't physically feel tapped out. Like I would carry a baby for somebody if Eric was on board for it with it, or if anybody wanted a baby in my 40-year-old body. I'm sure probably not the first.
I wanted to do that and then I lost parts, so that's not happening. But I always thought that would be the coolest.
That'd be really cool
because I'd be at a stage in life where I'm 100% fine with it not being my own.
Yeah. Yep.
But there's always something about giving birth. And,
Yeah. So, but emotionally and mentally, I still feel like I miss a kid once a day. Like I still feel like I go to bed sometimes and have I made eye contact? Have I hugged somebody? Have I told them how special they are, how much I love them every single day? And there are nights where I go to bed that I don't remember doing that with one of the kids during the day. And it breaks my heart because I know they're already asleep, but I can't go do it. And was this a wasted opportunity? And how was their day? Just kind of that mom stuff you carry. And it was really interesting because her response back was like, she doesn't have days like that. And I mean, she also doesn't work, and I mean, she doesn't work outside of the house, and you know, it's a completely different situation. And I think some people probably emotionally can keep going and they can keep having kids after kids because they're so emotionally in tune to what's happening and stuff like that. But for me, I am very much at the point where there are no more babies being had, not from a physical standpoint, but I don't feel I need one. I don't feel I need to hold one. That's never been a reason why I've had another kid. I like the relationship aspect of building the big family, not the actual infants and holding them and stuff. For me, we're done because I can't be everybody's everything. And in terms of like, I can't be the mother that I know that I want them to have. The more they have and the more stuff that human beings have that they carry with them, you know?
Yeah. I always have the thought, and I'm like, you know, what if we only had 2 kids?
Yeah.
And what if we only had 3 kids or 4? And you can't even imagine what that would look like because it just doesn't make sense for you because like you were meant to have 6 or, you know, however many you choose to have. But, I do look now and they're all getting into sports, and I've really had to have this kind of acceptance of I may not be able to take you to all your activities. I can't watch all your activities because I have 6. And there might even be times where neither one of us are going to be able to watch. And I'm like going to try to do everything I can to like have a grandparent there or somebody there. But like that, there are some reality things to accept with having more of them, which they're incredibly cool and awesome, and I wouldn't change it.
And there's stuff on the other side too. I mean, it's cooperation and the independence and all of the stuff that comes with bigger families is awesome too. So you can go back and forth all day long. It's so cool. But I feel like for most people, when they're done, they know they're done. Like done. So cool.
And I don't think there's any like stepping stones to it or, you know, there's no magical answer.
I think some people are maybe sometimes on the fence and they let enough time pass where it doesn't really make sense maybe to have another one in the sense of the huge gap or something like that. But, you know, I mean.
Yeah, I do know someone who they had 2 and very quickly like I think a vasectomy or something after. And like 2 years later, they're like, we both would have had a 3rd. So, you know, just speaking to that, you know, think on it, spend time in it, like sit with it. It doesn't have to be this rushed decision. You know, you can think and kind of like feel your way through that.
Yep.
Doesn't have to be a very quick.
And every stage changes. I always laughed. I keep wanting to wrap this up, and then we keep talking.
Yeah.
I would always joke about the fact that like by the time the one got so independent that I actually could breathe, that I could go to the gym, that I could like literally go out to dinner with a friend, I was already pregnant with the next one. So it was like if I had ever spaced it more, maybe we would have stopped sooner because I would have because you all of a sudden start to feel human again and you start to feel like, oh my gosh,
if we ever got out of diapers, I would have not had another one.
Yeah, I have an identity outside of all of these little people, and then all of a sudden, but then I was always pregnant again, so it didn't really matter. So you know, jumped right back into it. But anyways, 6 months away from it again. Cannot wait. That baby's got to learn how to sleep, though. All right, cool. So thanks, guys. This has been fun. I think the moral of the story is just talk it out, feel it out, and whatever you decide is right for your family is right for your family.
Yep.
Cool. Bye, guys.